Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for being here. I know you have so many things to listen to. It means the world to me that you're here listening. Today's guest is a former FBI chief of staff for counterintelligence turned certified holistic health coach. Her name is Holly Bertone. She has spent 20 years in high stakes government roles where she managed major operations while navigating intense pressure. After battling her own food monsters, Holly realized that cracking the code on emotional eating was the same as tracking spies, identifying the pattern and neutralizing the threat. Now she helps high achieving midlife women break free from emotional eating, rebel against diet culture, and prioritize their health without restrictive diets or relying on willpower. Through her science-backed approach, she's been featured on major platforms and top podcasts. Her mission is simple: help women fuel their bodies for optimal energy and health. Who doesn't need this conversation? I am so excited to welcome you to the show, Holly. Thank you for being here.
Oh, Linda, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your story, where it began, because you were in the FBI and now you're doing this. Tell us a little bit about your personal journey.
Oh, sure. And Linda, before I jump into your story, I really just want to say how much I love your podcast, love all the work that you've done. I mean, you talk about abundance is your birthright. And I feel the same way about, our health and especially as we get older, I mean, we really, it doesn't have to be downhill. But I want to make sure that everyone listening, that I want you to leave Linda a 5-star rating and review, because it's going to help her get the word out to more individuals to listen to this podcast. I left a 5-star rating and review this morning, so it would really mean a lot to me as a guest.
You are amazing. I love you already. Thank you, Holly. I appreciate it
Sure.
so much.
Yeah. And the other thing you talk about too, just one of your recent episodes, you were talking about self-care. And I think so often we forget that just being healthy, just going back to the basics, what we eat, how we move, just getting out in the sunshine, things like that. I mean, that is self-care. That is fueling our body. And I think so many people, they think that, when we talk about emotional eating, it's, I have this uncontrollable food noise, or, I have this mindless snacking, and then we obsess over the scale, but it's such a bigger picture. And I also think too, and especially for women, that we're high achievers. We do all of these great careers and families and all of these things, and we've got the habits and the discipline, but those same strategies don't work when it comes to trying to achieve a healthy weight, maintain a healthy weight, and really just get on the other side of those obsessive cravings and the mindless snacking.
Especially midlife, because I'm
Yes.
57 years old and I just see it all collects around the belly. And, I personally am increasing my protein and lifting more weights and different things. But
Oh,
I
that's
love,
awesome.
thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did watch your thing that you offer. What is it called? I went through the quiz and then
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Perfect.
your video. Yeah. And it's so powerful because it's so true, because I personally gained some weight through emotional eating and I think everyone can relate to it. And becoming the observer of your life is always number one. The self-awareness is always number one. Like when you're sitting there mindlessly eating, not even paying attention half the time.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to hear what happened to you personally that got you here. And clearly, there's a giant blessing for the world because you're serving in this way. And it's so powerful.
Thank you. And yeah, 53 here. So it's, midlife is a whole different story. And we're pretending like we're 25. I'm like, no, we got to do things a little bit differently.
Mm.
But I also like to think about it from the perspective of, we can't look at the scale and say that the scale dictates whether we're healthy or not.
Or happy or
Because
not.
right, right. I was at one point, I was 150 pounds, I was 40 pounds overweight and eating my emotions on a daily basis. at one point in my life, I was 110 pounds. I was a triathlete, quote unquote, healthy, and still doing the same thing, eating the same junk food. It's just I was 110 pounds because I was working out all the time. Right.
Mm, right.
So we
Yeah.
really need to think about this from a different perspective. And, and I think about emotional eating, or like, okay, what does that look like? Well, a really good example. So back in my FBI days, just high stress job. I was in counterintelligence, and I would dump M&Ms on my desk and color code them because
Okay.
that's me. And then I would speed eat the M&Ms with my left hand, and then I would just crank out the work with my right hand. And that's part of it. I mean, that's just this I've got to eat, and I've got this stress, and I'm trying to take the edge off. Well, when things really came to a head, and this is an embarrassing story to share. This took me a long time to actually admit that I was a health coach and I was not healthy. And I had already resigned from the FBI, and I had already become a health coach. And in my head, I was eating healthy Monday through Friday, doing all the perfect things, completely disciplined. And I would treat myself. And I always said it was going to be 1 pint of ice cream throughout the entire weekend. So a third, a third, a third, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But what happened was I would start to eat the pint of ice cream on Friday, and I would eat the entire thing. So I would eat another pint on Saturday and then another pint on Sunday. And I justified it. And maybe your listeners can relate. Like, you just have this justification because I was eating healthy all week long
Yeah.
and I worked hard. So I'm like, well, I deserve a treat.
Yeah.
So that was my treat weekend. But there was one Sunday in particular that things just it got bad because I had inhaled that third pint of ice cream. I didn't even taste it. I don't even remember what it tasted like. And I realized I'm staring at the bottom of the container, and I realized my spoon is in the groove, trying to get that last bit out of the cardboard, like that little tiny bit. And I'm staring at the bottom of the container. I'm like, Holly Bertone, what is wrong with you? How is it that you can be a health coach and have this like healthy exterior, on social media and all the things, but then behind closed doors, you've got this big old secret, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
I was like, why can't I just have a few bites and just put it back in the freezer? Why? I mean, how is this so hard for me?
Yeah.
And, and someone
I
listening
can
might,
relate. I
yeah,
can
might be able to
relate
relate.
with
Yeah.
pizza.
You've
Pizza.
got,
It's like
you've got these
you know
emotions.
yourself. Yeah, you know yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, if I order a pizza, I'm probably gonna eat the whole I mean, I buy the smaller gluten-free ones, but regardless, it's still the whole pizza.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, it's so interesting. I personally am experienced similar, so I can absolutely relate. And I know others too. It's
Yeah.
just a common thing. It's like other people might drink alcohol instead, and our choice of drug choice is food, and it is.
Right. Right. And just that feeling, and especially as a health coach, that feeling of being a failure,
Yeah,
that
shame.
feeling of being a fraud. And
Yeah,
I was like, I'm supposed to be someone who others look up to. But I went upstairs to my closet. And this was an interesting experience because I was looking at the clothes that I don't wear because I was a few pounds overweight, still in a healthy range, but a few pounds overweight, and nothing fit anymore. And I'm thinking back to the days that I was overweight and how much just I hated my body and how much I hated how it looks and how much I was like, this obsession over food, this obsession over the weight, like this is not okay. And that was the hardest truth to admit was
yeah,
that it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter how much you weigh, how healthy you eat most of the time, is that if you're struggling with the emotional eating, that food noise is always going to win. And then I realized I'm like, you know what? It's not just me, it's my clients too. And it's so many other women. And that's when I was like, okay, let me go back to my FBI hat. I'm going to put the FBI hat back on and really started
investigate.
looking right the patterns and the trends of like what got us here, because the diet industry, they tells us about the cardio and the calories and the weight and the food and all the things, but what it actually is, it's we need to address those root cause triggers and those automatic eating patterns, because that is what's driving our behaviors. And those patterns are what control everything.
Yeah.
So if you want something to change, you actually got to go back to those patterns and rewire those patterns to work in your favor.
Exactly. And where did you see it? Like, I know I saw my mother do it.
Yeah.
I
All
know my
growing up.
mother did it. Yeah. I mean, it was like growing up, don't cry, here's an ice cream. I mean, we learned it very young, where, even just society, it's like, oh, we're celebrating, time to have this. Oh, we're, da da da. And it's like, celebration, all these things are around food, right? And so
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's decades of these patterns and and behaviors and habits that are just ingrained in us.
right, right. And today they know, though, when the kid's crying, I hope they know to allow it, right? Feel your feelings, right? Get your
Yeah.
feelings out. So you told us your personal turning point basically was with the ice cream, which
Yeah.
I appreciate your authenticity and your vulnerability and sharing that truth, because some people come on the show and they're not as honest, and I appreciate it so much. You talk about food monsters. I love that metaphor. Can you share like more about what that means?
Yeah. I mean, and like I said about the ice cream, just not even eating it, scraping the bottom. Like you said, the pizza, I was the same person. I would get pizza and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a slice and eat the entire thing. It didn't matter if it was a small, medium, and large. I would just eat it, just eat it.
Yeah.
And really those food monsters, they they help to take the edge off. They help to quiet the noise. They help to make the stress of the day. And usually it's not acute stress, it's that systemic stress. It's just that constant, the second you wake up, the to-do list, all the things, the rushing from here to there, rushing to work, doing the work thing, rushing home, doing the home thing, finally sitting down at 9 o'clock at night, and then your spouse or your kids or whatever is like, hey, I need XYZ, or the dog didn't go out poop, and you're like, oh, you got to get up, do the thing. And then we reach for food because that's the one place that's quiet. That's the one place that takes the edge off.
Yeah.
And and that's why I kind of talk about it from that perspective, because for me, those food monsters controlled my life.
Yeah.
And I went from that place of coaching, from the textbook stuff that I learned in, the different certifications that I have, to actually saying, okay, there's more to this. It's more than just the textbook. So what's going on behind the scenes? And that's when I connected the dots and the patterns between my own background with the food monsters, with the everything that I learned in FBI counterintelligence, with analyzing patterns and countering threats, and then realizing what it actually is, that brain science of neuroplasticity. And those three together, like that's really when it takes off. That's really when you can start to see those shifts happen.
Now, is self-love and acceptance inside of that neuroplasticity, like you're rewiring the brain?
Yeah,
Like I use
100%.
EFT. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I love EFT. We do some EFT and NLP exercises combined, and then some other brain-based exercises as well. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we are learning how to regulate our nervous system.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to just boil it down to something very simple, that's what we're doing. Because
Hmm.
when our nervous system is regulated, it is easier to not get caught up in the stress, to not get caught up in the sympathetic nervous system, your
Like,
fight, fright, freeze, and fawn,
yeah.
and to spiral with everything that happens. And when you can be in that parasympathetic peace state, when you have that calm about yourself, all of a sudden you see things differently. You
Hmm.
look at life differently. You have a neutrality about things. You can look at yourself and say, oh, geez, maybe these habits aren't that great. Maybe I need to start thinking about a change. Maybe I need the self-love. Like I am not loving myself
Right.
when I'm shoving my face with Oreo
That's
cookies.
right. Yeah.
That's not love. That's chemicals. Those
Yeah.
chemicals are not going to do anything good for us.
Yeah. I wonder if you're aware of this book by Marianne Williamson called A Course in Weight Loss.
I have not heard of it. No.
So I listened to this book was like, she basically said it's an act of self-hatred when we're eating like that. And you really change your whole relationship with food. And she has you, it's very interesting. It didn't really work for me, but I loved the whole idea. And it was like, she's basically saying, you don't love food.
Yeah.
Like at all, because you're not even tasting it. You're not even
It's
enjoying it,
it's
right?
not about the food.
It's
Yeah.
not about the food. It's not. And so she has you buy like a nice plate and new stuff to like have like almost a ceremony, like when you eat to sit down and like enjoy every I mean, it's interesting, but yeah, she says it's an act of self-hatred, which was a real wake-up call for me when I read that, because I was like, okay, it sounds very true. It is
Yeah.
not something a loving, right? If you're loving
And
yourself,
and especially like, we were talking about, we're not 25 anymore.
right?
Right? Like, we need to not think about today. We need to think about, what is our quality of life going to be when we're 80 years old? Because we're probably going to live to 80. So it's not going to be a matter of if we live to 80. It's going to be, what is that quality of life?
Yeah.
You know, I've got my dad's at a local retirement, independent retirement, and he's got a little cul-de-sac with these 80-year-old ladies, and one goes deer hunting in her 80s. The other one just got back from she did a mission trip to build a ramp for someone disabled to get in their house with a wheelchair. Like, I mean, things like that. Like, that's what I want to be doing. I mean, not say deer hunting or,
Right.
construction, but, but
Right.
I want to be able to do the things that I want to do when
Right.
I'm 80, whatever that looks like.
Right.
And I think that we can't even think 15 minutes ahead of us, let alone 15, 20, 30 years, but we have to, because our bodies aren't as forgiving as they used to be.
Exactly. So a couple questions. So many women struggle with emotional eating and don't even realize it. What are the first steps to becoming aware of the pattern? And the other question is, what role do you think people pleasing, perfectionism, and stress, you talked about stress, plays in our relationship with food, but like the people pleasing, the perfectionism?
Yeah, let's talk about that first, and then I'll get into the other one. We grow up with roles, and a lot of us were told we were the smart one, or the pretty one, or the good girl, or the athlete, or, I mean, we have all of these labels that were given to us. And then we learned that that's where our value comes from. And then food gets introduced, right? Either as a reward, or when we don't get the value from the thing, we reach for food to fill that void.
Yeah.
So when we think about it from the perspective of, so let's say perfectionism, let's talk about that. High achievers, typically. So we're going to be, I mean, it doesn't even matter what the label is, but the high achievers.
Right.
And for high achievers, we're like, okay, if I don't succeed, therefore I'm a failure. And it's kind of this polarity. So if I'm not in that high success, I'm missing that value. My value is attached to that
Mm,
success. So when we're in that gap, we're like, okay, I need to feel that success in some way, because I'm searching for it, but I don't have it because that thing that I didn't work. So now I'm not successful. I'm considering myself a failure. So what can I do to fill that gap? And again, this is just decades of time we've been programmed to reach for food.
right.
And then you think from a people pleaser perspective, always giving to others, but never giving to ourselves.
Mhm.
So we give and we give and we give, and we give because we think that if we give, we're going to get back, but we never get back, because those people that we give to do not give back to us.
Yeah.
So that is that gap. We're looking for something to fill that gap. So
Mhm.
what do? We reach for food.
Right. Yep. And then you talked about the stress and how we just kind of were eating and without mindlessly eating and stuff. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so what are the first steps to becoming aware? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but perhaps maybe it isn't. And so I know men and women that struggle with emotional
Yeah.
eating and don't realize.
Yeah. I can't tell you. I mean, I work specifically with women in midlife, but I can't tell you, I go to a networking event or something and, a man would ask me, "Hey, what do you do?" And I tell him, he's like, "Oh, well, I emotionally," like, I mean, it's just, it, so many men deal with it too. I mean, I think there was a survey that I saw and it said 80% of the individuals who actually answered the survey said that they consider themselves emotional eaters. I mean, it is really common.
Yeah,
So I want to get in. I've got a three-step process that I
sure.
want to talk about, and that step one is that awareness. But I want to take a step back first to create some clarity going into that process to really kind of share how our brain works and how our brain works specific to emotional eating. There was researchers at MIT, and what they found was that the moment a craving hits, your brain makes a decision in about half of a second. That's fast. That you are going to eat the thing. And when your brain makes that decision, there are no other options on the table. That is the only option. But then what happens is dopamine kicks in. And we think dopamine, we think reward chemicals, we think, babies and puppies. But dopamine is the anticipation chemical. Dopamine does not happen when the food is in your mouth. Dopamine happens from the time that 0.5 seconds, right? And you've got the fork up until your mouth. So that's where the dopamine kicks in, is anticipation of eating the food. And
Mhm.
that is why these cravings are so obsessive. And I like to use this example of, let's say you're on a diet. You tell your spouse, don't bring any junk food in the house. I'm on a diet. So you go to work, you have a hard day at work, you come home, and your spouse brought home cupcakes. So there's cupcakes on the counter. You had a hard day at work. That 0.5 of a second is, I must have a cupcake, probably two or three, to take the edge off because I had a hard day. I need to reward myself. I
Right.
deserve
To
it.
feel, yeah.
The dopamine kicks in, that anticipation chemical kicks in. You see those cupcakes, your brain made that decision. There are no other options on the table. You are eating the cupcakes, no other options. But then what happens? You eat the cupcakes, you feel guilty, you feel bad about yourself, the shame hits. So what do? We go yell at the spouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a vicious
So
cycle
right. So that is what
where you
we
feel
are
shameful the whole
we're
rest of
looking
it.
at.
No,
Yeah.
it's like that's the thing. Like I stopped doing that because I have more self-compassion. Anytime I want to um be upset with myself is when I'm absolutely compassionate. But I used to do that. I would overeat and then shame myself. And it's a terrible cycle. And I know a lot of people still do it. But
Yeah.
so you have the science backed approach, and you were going to share one or two key
Yes.
principles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a three-step approach, and I like to think of it as like a path in the woods. So we have decades of patterns and beliefs and habits and all of these things that food equals comfort. This is a well-worn path in the woods over decades. So it is deep. And what we are going to do with this three-step process, we are going to get out the work boots, we're going to get out the gloves, and we're going to clear the brush, and we're going to get rid of the snakes, and we're going to get rid of the rocks, and we are going to make a new path.
Nice.
And that's exactly what we're doing. So, step one is see it. And that's where we use FBI inspired pattern analysis. We actually uncover the hidden patterns and those triggers behind emotional eating. Because
Right.
what we want to do is we need to understand, why do we reach for the food in the first place? Why do we reach for the food when the stress hits?
Yeah. I know.
And
Yeah. I know that when I wasn't feeling enough, or I would reach for food. And I used to, yeah, I remember like I would decide I'm going to date and do some online dating
mm,
and then have an experience. And then I was doing excellent with my nutrition, and then I go on a date and it doesn't go well, and then I'm like eating, and I notice because I'm very observant of I become
Yes.
the observer.
That's exactly what see it is. That's the
Yeah,
awareness. Yes.
yeah, I see it, and yeah, and so that was really a powerful observation that I made, and I was like, wow, this is so interesting, right? So it's almost like I'm beating myself up, or I'm just eating this one girl calls it eating your feelings, but
Yeah.
yeah, and so see it is
But
one of the.
but I think, and you said a really good phrase, Linda, and that is you beat yourself up. And we really need to approach this see it from a place of neutrality, to have that 30,000 view look. And that's what I teach the students in my program to do, is to have that neutral look. So we can actually kind of look down on the problem set in a
Yeah,
very neutral perspective. So we aren't blaming ourselves. So we don't have that shame, that we can just look at it as it is.
yeah,
It is neutral. It's like, it's just a data point. It's just information. So now what are we going to do with it? So
yeah,
that's where step 2 comes in. So step 2 is stop it. So it's see it, stop it. And again, we're going to bring in more FBI inspired tactics. We are going to interrupt the cycle in real time, because what we want to do is we want to stop the cravings before they take over. So when you think about that path in the woods, you're coming up to a fork. So you've got that old path, decades of programming. You've got the new path that's still under construction. So your brain in that 0.5 seconds when the dopamine's hitting is like, hey, let's go down let's go down the old path. And you're in that 0.5 seconds when the dopamine hits, this is where we're going to do those pattern interrupts. And we're going to say, oh, wait, we're going to go down the new path. The new path is not shiny and new yet. The new path is still under construction, but we need to start going down that new path so we can make the new path the one that's familiar.
yes,
And what we do, this is where I pull in FBI tactics. They're called countermeasures. And countermeasures they're just tactical interventions. So what we're going to do is we're going to intercept the cravings before they take over.
and it's
And this is the equivalent of potty training a puppy. It is the exact same thing. We're doing the exact same thing in our brain as we're doing when we potty train our puppy. You have a puppy, you got to take him out every hour, go potty. So the puppy doesn't, poop on the carpet. That's
right.
exactly what we are potty training our brain at this point.
Okay. I was going to say that what does it mean to fuel your body instead of fight your body? Because I think when we're consuming things, we're overeating or choosing the wrong thing. That is the habit that we have to shift. And I think, well, for me personally, when I eat more protein and eat healthier, I am more full and I don't
Yes.
get as right, and I'm not as hungry. And I also notice another thing that I'm observant of is, do you know how like you're not hungry and then you open a drawer to get something that's not food and there's something that is food, or you open the fridge to get a liquid and there's something like fruit and you grab it, and I'll be like, well, you weren't hungry, and if you didn't see it you wouldn't have eaten it. But like it's like out of sight out of mind. It's really a thing.
Yeah. So we'll get into step 3 here in a minute, but let me answer your question when you talk about fighting or fueling your body. So, and we can look at it. I mentor some girls for Go Girls Go. It's like Girls on the Run, and it's how I mentor the fourth graders, but it's totally appropriate for adults. It's belly hungry versus brain hungry. Is
Mm,
your belly hungry or is your brain hungry? Because there's a big difference.
yes.
But we have 2 systems in our brain. So we have system 1, which is the limbic system. That's your automatic and emotional decision making. So it's quick, it's automatic, it's emotional. That's when I say, you come home, you have a bad day, you see the cupcakes on the counter, there are no other options on the table, you are eating those cupcakes.
Is that like the
But
subconscious programs?
yes,
Okay.
yes. But we also have system 2, which is the prefrontal cortex. That's our analytical and our more decision making.
Willpower.
Yeah, that's where willpower comes in, or counting calories, and that's where the diet industry. So the diet industry is trying to solve this problem from a system 2 perspective, which is the prefrontal cortex, when it's actually a system 1 problem, where it's from that emotional automatic state. So when we talk about, fighting our body versus fueling our body, that's a system one problem. And we're looking at system two tactics: willpower, calories, discipline, macros, jumping on the scale, whatever that looks like, to solve it. But do you see the disconnect where we
Yeah,
can't solve a
absolutely.
system one problem with a system two solution?
Right.
So that's
Right.
why we got to do this from this kind of subconscious level.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Because
yeah, great question.
95% of our actions and inactions are coming from the subconscious. So that's why I've been using EFT. That's why I've been, rewiring my subconscious, but it's not something that for me, that happens overnight. I mean, can it happen overnight? Can that be the case with your clients, or is it over time?
So the average student in my program, and it's called an accelerator, so it's more of a quick strike. And the average student comes back in 10 days and says, I put the fork down. I had a student like 2 weeks ago, I think, show up on a coaching call, and it was 5 days.
Wow.
So
Oh,
it's,
awesome.
but I want to make this very clear: that 5 days, that 10 days, that's the first time it happened, right? That's the place where they're creating that new path, and their brain for the first time says, I'm going to go down that new path.
Mm.
The path is not formed fully yet. This is actually perfect segue. This is step three: shift it. This is where we actually rewire those automatic responses. So instead of going down the old path, your brain, you're coming up on that fork in the road. You've got that 0.5 second to make the decision. The dopamine kicks in, and your brain is now on a new path.
Yes.
This is the one that is automatic, it is effortless, and it is that healthier relationship with food. This is the one that fuels your body. This new path is the one that's sparkly and shiny and familiar. So when I talk about the 10 days and then the 5 days for the one, this is the first time they're on the new path, but it takes it
Time,
takes a lot of
repetition.
repetition,
Right.
exactly,
Yeah.
to get down that new path on a consistent basis.
Right.
And you when you think about it, this is the equivalent then of, you have that hard day at work, you come home, the cupcakes are on the counter, and you're just like, okay, they're neutral. Food doesn't equal comfort. Food is just food. You can look at those cupcakes from a neutral perspective. You don't have that automatic dopamine obsession, I have to eat them. You just look at them and they're just cupcakes, and you can walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I teach a lot of self-love and worthiness, and I'll say there's a distinction between, I'm going to allow myself this cupcake because I love myself, and I'm not going to have this cupcake because I love myself. Right. So
Yeah.
sometimes you may have the cupcake, but like one, right? It's moderation. But, but to eat all of them, or to eat them like without even enjoying it because you're, feeling a certain way, right? But what's your favorite simple shift or daily practice that helps women feel more in control of their health without obsessing?
So you mentioned EFT. That is one of my favorite techniques to use. I also just like time in the quiet, because we don't have any time in the quiet. If we have a second, like if we're in line at the checkout at the grocery store, at Target, what do? We jump on our phone. Like, we can't even be quiet for 90 seconds. We can't even be quiet for 2 minutes to wait in
Right,
line,
generally, yeah. I like to be
right?
quiet, but sometimes I'm taking the dog out for a walk and I'm like, do I want the phone or not? Like maybe I just
Yeah.
want to be in nature. But then there's like, oh, I might miss something, like a opportunity through. But yeah, I love that. Like
Yeah. And even, yeah, like I walk my pug, and I love to listen, to podcasts or books or whatever. And I'm like, you know what, or music even. I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna walk in quiet. I mean, I've got the phone for like an emergency or something. I'm like, I'm just gonna walk in the
exactly.
quiet.
Put
Like,
it
I
in
don't
airplane
need
mode.
to,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then like, is it something where instead of eating at night, like you ate your dinner, like I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to, do something different? Is that part of the creating the new path, right?
Yeah.
Like creating new habits instead of.
So it's called the ego depletion theory. And it's basically decision fatigue. It's just, there was a researcher that called it something different. But basically what they found is that the more decisions that you make throughout the day, the less you have control over your eating at night. And again, it's just simple decision fatigue. They just call it the ego depletion study or the ego depletion theory. But I mean, you think about it, you wake up in the morning, you don't have cravings. You wake up, you do your thing, you go to work, whatever. But in the evening, at night, after dinner, you're like, oh my goodness, I need to eat everything in sight. Like that's where this comes in. So looking at it from the perspective of, I mean, you mentioned protein, obviously, like protein is huge, especially for midlife. Number one, for our metabolic health, but number two, protein is going to give us that satiety. So absolutely, there was a study
Yeah.
done that showed women in midlife are 50 grams of protein deficient a day.
Oh my goodness.
Deficient.
Yeah.
That is huge. We need to be eating about 1 gram of protein per ideal pound of body weight. And it
Okay.
sounds like a lot, but it really does help us to keep us
Yeah.
full.
I have a
But
nutrition coach friend, and she's been a little bit helping me, and she says almost 30 grams per meal.
yeah, 30 grams per meal. But when we think about it from that perspective, protein is going to help fuel us. But let's say there's a day, I don't know, we don't have any groceries in the house, or we're out and whatever, we're not on our schedule. And let's say it's Costco cake day at the office or pizza lunch day at the office. And you're like, those triggers are there. So even when we're fueling our body, we still need to address that underlying root cause.
Okay, so what would you suggest when that's the case? There's, they're going to have pizza at work, or they're going to have cake. What do you just fuel yourself beforehand with nutritious?
I mean, that is definitely one of the options. And, and like I said, going through that 3-step process, it's a way to be able to, rather than fear like freak out and like, oh my goodness, and like all the mental gymnastics of I have to be good, I have to be good, I have to be good, to just be in that place where that brain is rewired. It's not a
Yeah,
doing, it's
feel
a
whole,
being.
feel whole, and feel love for yourself, and know that
Yeah.
you're safe. Like the nervous system thing that you
Yeah.
mentioned, like that's really what it is. It's like I don't,
100%.
and because I've been on the journey. I mean, I was in the best shape of my life a few years. Well, I don't know that I was in the best shape of my life, but physically I appeared in, a much lower weight. But it was ego, it was willpower, and I was on a thyroid medication. Like there were things, but I had a boyfriend that influenced me in different ways. But I just know that it wasn't exactly healthy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Where today I'm much more healthy and fueling my body. And if I allow myself to have a treat or something, it's not like I'm beating myself up over it. It's knowing that 80% of the time I'm eating well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, weighing yourself is really not even like, if I choose to get on the scale, I say to myself, no matter what I see, I still have compassion and love for myself. Like it's not one of my jazzercise instructors, she's like, don't even weigh yourself. Like really, because it's how your clothes fit, right? It's
Yeah.
how you look in the mirror, right? But
And Linda, you brought up a really good point. You said a very important word, and that is safety. And that is one of the first things that I do with the students in my program is I take them through an exercise that they can do, in their own home to help them feel safe in their bodies. Because that's really where we need to start, is to start feeling safe in our bodies. So somewhere along the way, there was this disconnect that happened, and we don't feel safe. And we've got all of this external stuff coming at us on a daily basis, and we just don't have that time to just sit and be. So it is a very important concept, like right at the beginning.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. And something else you said just now made me think of Oh, when I had another health coach, I only had her for a month, like, I don't know, 4 years ago. She goes, write down your emotions when you're eating, write down your emotions. And I was like, interesting. So I noticed, and it was like when I was nervous.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that is so interesting. Right. So then I'm aware.
Yep. That's awareness.
Awareness,
That's the
number
see it.
one.
Step one, see it. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's more powerful than willpower when it comes to food and wellness?
I'm not a fan of willpower because willpower is a system to function. So, what is more powerful is getting
Healing
to
your,
that, yeah,
yeah,
getting
healing
to
your
that root
subconscious.
cause. Yeah, regulating your nervous system, rewiring those patterns,
Yeah.
and just having your superpower that it's automatic now. Like, you know how when we leave work or leave house or whatever, leave the house in the morning and your teeth are brushed and there's probably coffee in your hand. Like that's how automatic we want this to be. That's how automatic it can be.
Yeah.
Is, it doesn't matter if you had the worst morning ever, everything went wrong, you're running late, your teeth are going to be brushed, your coffee's going to be in your hand. That is non-negotiable. And that's where we are going to get to. That is possible to
Yes.
be in that place with food that it is that automatic, that as obsessive as the food noise and I have to have it, we can go complete polar opposite and be at that much peace around food.
Yes. And you probably don't like the word discipline either when it comes to food, right?
I mean, I'm okay with discipline. I'm a person who I do feel that I am very disciplined, but at the same time, we want to focus on those automatic habits. Discipline is a system to function.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally though, I'm I'm better when I have a plan. I'm better when my day is organized a certain way. I know that I'm going to wake up. I know that I'm going to meditate. I know that I'm going to work out. I know that I'm going to eat breakfast. Like I know, like I have my
Yeah.
routine, and I know that even if I wake up, even if I feel like crap that day, I'm still going to work out, or I'm still going to do this, and I'm still going to like all of these things. I'm still going to do the thing. So that's where discipline comes in. So I
Yeah.
think that one kind of comes in the middle.
Consistency and discipline. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does living a worthy and abundant life mean to you now compared to when you were in your high stakes government career?
Mm, I feel like back to the whole discipline thing. I'm a planner. I love to plan. And I go through, so I'm FBI, former FBI. My ex-husband was a retired Green Beret. So we did this thing. It was called PACE planning, primary alternate contingency emergency. So old me would have only been the planner, but new me understands that I like going through life with a plan. I don't want to just wing it. But once that plan is set, I surrender and I let the miracles happen. And I'm under the impression from an abundance perspective that there are actually three. I've always heard two, but I actually added a third one. Law of, and not the law of abundance, but a law of abundance, if that makes sense. So you either get the thing you want or you get the lesson that you need to get you to the next step. And I feel like those are two big, powerful laws. But I also feel like there's one that's missing. And that is that the third option is that we can also, maybe it has nothing to do with us. And maybe we are just the mirror for someone else. Maybe we are the mirror so that someone else can get their lesson or get the thing that they want. And whatever we are going through has nothing to do with us. And when you can look at every situation in life from that perspective, like that just opens up the floodgates for abundance to come in.
Is that like the law of oneness?
It's not an actual law. I'm just saying,
Right,
like
but
a from a,
are you kind of saying like that we're all one consciousness? Where like,
yeah,
for
sure.
example, like when I help you, I'm helping me. When I help me, I'm helping you kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And
all get to
then,
be mirrors of each other. And,
right.
sometimes like you're like, why did this happen? And you get all upset. You're like, well, maybe it wasn't about you. Maybe it was about someone else. And like their opportunity to grow, their opportunity to achieve, their opportunity to achieve their abundance.
Yes.
And that looking at it from that perspective, I think opens up that door to have that neutrality, to sit in that space of letting it in.
Mm, exactly. I love that. What do you want every woman listening today to know about herself and her power to change her life and health?
Mm. To know that you have had this inside of you all along. It's just a matter of peeling back the layers and finding it again, and finding yourself again, and coming back home to that place again. And that you're not alone. And especially with emotional eating, that there are so many other women who are going through this, that there's no shame. There's like, it is totally normal. It is a brain based problem. You're not a failure. And there is hope on the other side.
I love that so much because I feel like even if you do achieve weight loss or your weight loss goals or whatever, doing it the traditional way and then not healing the core, like you said, the root cause, it's just going to come back, or you're just going to walk around miserable. Like, really, honestly. Like, I just see these women that are like, they lost all this weight by these injections or whatever. I don't even watch the news, but there's some injection people are doing. And I feel like nobody's happy. Like, I want to be happy and healthy and, comfortable, in my body. Like, I've learned to love and accept. This is a question for you. How important is it to love and accept your current body the way it is in this process?
Yeah, it's a must. It's, I was actually just having a conversation with someone this morning, and we need to get to a place where we can love and value ourselves as we are. And when we can get to that place, that's when others, like, they're always going to mirror us. And I think so many women look to their spouse or their boyfriend or their career or their kids or whatever to give them that self love and self validation. And when we can give that to ourselves, like truly and fully, we're never going to need it from someone else.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like our bodies do so much for us, and we have been criticizing our bodies and for so long. And it's like been programmed in from society and TV and comparing and
Oh,
social
yeah.
media. And oh, look at her. And it's like, we get to, who says this body is more attractive than this body? Like, right? In
Right.
certain countries, I'm just saying, but it's really a personal thing. It's not like I went on a date and there was no attraction. I mean, he, whatever. And I asked, I might cut this part out, like, and I asked something like in the text, and I said, I said, I'm releasing this extra weight, but I do love my body as it is. And I just wanted to ask if that was, part of it. And he said he thought I was beautiful and it wasn't that at all. And that it was some other thing he had about his own issue. But I just thought I wasn't going to say, I will not criticize myself ever anymore. Like, I try to not do that. I'm very conscious of the words that come out of my mouth and very conscious of how I treat myself, talk to myself, and I teach self-love, right? And worthiness because I never had it. So like I like, you know, you're good, I love you kind of thing, right? Touching my body. And so I just was asking because I thought that was really interesting. I mean, like they said, the Marianne Williamson book, that was just like so eye-opening when she said it's an act of self-hatred. I was like, woo. I mean, that's very interesting. Um, I would love for you to tell everyone where they can find you, but I do have some quick rapid fire questions. And then is there
Sure.
anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I have a gift for your listeners, so we can do the rapid fire, and then I'll share that.
Okay, perfect. What's one wellness practice you swear by?
Being in the quiet, lots of time in the quiet.
Coffee, tea, or something else to start your day?
I start my day with it's called Bone and Brew. It's a bone broth. It's lightly caffeinated and tastes like creme brulee.
Ooh,
You can get it on Amazon.
I'm interested. A mantra or affirmation you live by.
Oh my goodness. This or better.
Ooh, what's your favorite book that changed your mindset?
Wow. Um, Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning.
Mm. Were you on his show?
I was.
Oh, amazing. I thought I saw that somewhere on your social media. That's so incredible. I love that.
Yep. Thank
Um,
you.
one food you'll never give up no matter what.
Oh my goodness. Don't come after me for this one. Bacon. I get my bacon right from the farm. So
Oh my goodness.
it is literally from pig to my stomach. So
Oh wow. I gotta tell
I
you,
get fresh bacon and it is so good. It tastes nothing like the stuff in the store.
right, right. I did just make mushroom bacon and it's actually really delicious.
Oh,
Got a lot of sodium, but I found it here and that was really good, but not the protein. Um, your dream vacation destination right now.
right now, I love the Phoenix and Sedona area.
Me
So
too.
it's
Oh
one of
my
my
God.
favorite places to go.
Oh my God. Where are you in the world?
I'm in Pennsylvania. So I live in the middle of nowhere, central Pennsylvania. So
Oh,
lots of cows and cornfields and Amish. And I actually get my bacon from an Amish farm. So it's pretty,
oh,
yeah.
very nice. What's one word that describes this season of your life?
I'm not going to curse, but my kind of life mantra for this year is F yeah.
Oh, I love that.
You can fill in the blanks.
I thought freedom was going to be your word, but my word for the year just was ease.
I love that. Yeah.
That was my word for this year. And then if you could time travel to give your younger self advice, what would you say in one sentence?
I would go back to elementary school on the playground where I was slow. I was always it when we played tag, and the bullies decided to call me the nickname it. And I would tell my younger self that that name means absolutely nothing and it's not who you are.
Oh, so good. I know. I love kids. Um, and then finish this sentence. Worthy and abundant means.
Mm, Means that everything and anything is possible.
Mm,
I just had a season. I'm not going to get into the details, but I just had a season where the synchronicities were, I call them obnoxious synchronicities because God's universe was trying to get my attention. And if it would have been small, it wouldn't have worked. And I really like to be open to seeing that anything is possible.
I love that. We're like soul sisters. I love that so much because I always say magic and miracles happen every day. And the last question is, what is lighting you up the most right now?
What is lighting me up the most right now is best day energy. I've been doing a kind of a take on it, and then a friend of mine was doing it, and then we had this conversation, and we just turned it into a thing. And it is waking up with "this is the best day ever" energy, like a dog. Like everywhere a dog goes, a dog can change a room, and it's like woohoo, best day ever, right? Like
Yeah,
that's the kind of energy waking up with "this is the best day ever," and it's been a game changer.
that's so cool. This has been so much fun talking to you and valuable. I love this. Where can people find you?
Yeah, Linda. So I want to do something really special for your audience since they stayed to the end of the episode. And I've got a very special gift. And before I dive in, I want to make sure that you know who it's for. So this is going to be for the high achieving woman in midlife who isn't in control around food and she's stress eating. You're mindlessly snacking, hijacked by the food cravings and the food noise, and just kind of nodding along and like listening, like, yeah, I want to get control over this. So if that's you, you're going to be obsessed. So I've got it's called the Emotional Eating Tactical Blueprint, and it's got two gifts inside. So number one, you actually talked about it. It's the psychological profile. And you actually get to, I had analyzed 1,791 cravings profiles to create this layers of data And what you're going to do is uncover your number one emotional and stress eating trigger and actually understand what's driving those triggers. It is, and you took it. I mean, it's pretty intense. And everyone so far has taken it for the most part have been like, yeah, it's pretty accurate too. So it's a psychological profile to really uncover that emotional eating. And
Mm.
then the second thing in the bundle is something that I actually pulled out from something that I reserve exclusively for my clients. So totally free, but it's something that is only found inside of one of my paid programs. And it's called the Crime Scene Files. It's the Emotional Eating Edition. And so you've got the profile to help you understand what the triggers are. This is actually some tools to help you start to learn how to intercept those triggers. And this is kind of cool because I designed it true crime style. I had to put the FBI hat back on. So if you love the true crime podcast or the CSI shows on TV, you are going to get totally geeked out with this because it's really cool. So it's the emotional eating tactical blueprint, and it's absolutely free. It's my thanks for you for hosting me and for your listeners to listen. So go to my Instagram, and it's at holly.bertone, and it's Bertone, holly.bertone on Instagram. DM me the word blueprint, and I will send it over to you.
Sounds amazing. We will put all those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. I love
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is a great conversation.
Yes, thank you.